How's it going, everybody? On Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there is a remote Discord tournament. Every week, we'll be going over the winning deck list and strategies, so don't forget to tune in every week for our next tournament result.
Sign up details are in the tournament section of the unofficial Godzilla card game Discord server. There's a ton of great people up there for casual gameplay, deck discussion, deck lists. We'll post a link in the description down below, so check it out. What's going on? We got Ian, our first place tournament winner from the local Discord tournament this week. What was the date, Brian? November 16th?
16th.
Yep, 2025. So, what's up, Ian? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Hey, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking time to sit down and kind of explain to us the meat and potatoes of your deck here. Is there
I'm
anything you
always
want
happy
to
to
say?
talk about the Godzilla card game.
Awesome, awesome. We love to hear it. But yeah, if you want to shout out anybody or anything, that's cool. If not, we can just get right into your card by card and we can get into it.
Shout out to my local game store, SK Games, my sparring partner there, Taft, and Rick, and Doug, and a few others in the server as well, like Paul, to the Godzilla Discord server in general, and its admin Tuscan, and just all the friends out there in the Godzilla card game space. This is a really well-connected community. It's not a ton of people, but I am very happy with all the people that I have met.
Yeah, everyone's really cool. Everyone's super chill. It's not
That's
toxic at all. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
So we'll
everyone's been
definitely,
super cool.
yeah, and we'll definitely put a Discord link in the description for everybody. So you guys encourage you to come join, play the tournament, even if you're not like, super skilled or super experienced. The tournament's there for everyone to learn and get better and just share information. It's awesome.
All right. So I would call this deck an aggro combo deck oriented around Shin Godzilla. And we'll start by talking about the monster deck. The level 1 monster is Giant Unknown Creature. It has 4,000 threat, which is very low, which is good. And at the beginning of the opponent's counter phase, we can pitch a strategy card to increase its rage by 1. Very rarely do we do this unless we have accidentally drawn entirely too many strategy cards and redundant ones. But the main reason that we play this card is, one, its threat is very, very low, and we want to get countered in this deck. And it enables a card later on that requires having Giant Unknown Creature beneath it, essentially a Shin Godzilla second form card.
Okay.
The level 2 in the monster deck is going to be, whoops, frame. The level 2 in the monster deck is this Godzilla 2023, originally, I believe, from the red starter deck. It has the
Yes.
when invading text, searching your deck for a rank 3 card Godzilla 2023 with burst, and then adding it to hand. Essentially, we use this to go search those cards. Occasionally, it's to use as a removal spell because those cards have those abilities. We'll profile them later in the monster section of the main deck, but also they provide an opportunity to get a net positive amount of rage. So maybe we have a strategy card that we can't cast. We want to invade 2 with it. We use that to get 2 monster cards out of the deck. Now we have more rage. We're dug further into our deck. The various pivot paths and strategies that can happen with this card. But funnily enough, most of the time, the most important thing on it is 8,000 threat. Once again, it's very low. We want to be able to control our ability to get countered in this deck. We want to be able to have a very high amount of counter power, or a very high amount of threat or a very low amount of threat at our decision entirely, which means we get to control when we get countered by the opponent. We go to the level 3, which is a really good payoff for this deck. Whenever this 1954 Godzilla, whenever its rate is increased, you mill the top card of your deck, and if it's a monster, you get to blow anything up rank 6 or lower. So it basically acts as a Genza, except it lives in your monster deck. If you can successfully get countered a couple of times and you're still in the early game, it's often possible that your opponent has not been able to play a single battle card that survives this effect. And so you can use this guy's native ability to clear Area 8 and then invade for game without having to depend on something else. Also, making you very comfortable at rank 3. Finally, we have the classic Red Rage finisher since set 1, Godzilla 2023. When its rage is increased, it blows up all of the battle cards in the same column, and on the opponent's turn, if it has 3 or more rage, it also blows up the column, which basically, this is our Hail Mary pass. I stick this in area 8, I rage as much as possible, I say, counter me now or die.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty brutal.
sometimes
The best card in the
uh,
deck.
a good, I don't know if I would say the best card in the deck. There's a lot of contenders for that in this deck, but it is definitely the finisher for a reason. It says I'm taking away 2 of your zones and I'm going to make my threat as high as possible, and you have to hit that really high number without using 2 whole zones. And sometimes people forget that and make mistakes. Other times it just makes it mathematically impossible. But it's a fairly simple plan, but it's an effective one.
And it's
Ideally,
kind
the
of
game is
three
over
zones.
long before this.
It's kind of 3
I'm
zones
sorry.
too, because your monster is always going to take up one of those zones. So like if you're in zone 7 or 6 or wherever,
Yeah, it
and you
takes them
got
down to.
that,
Yeah, it says you have 5 zones. Figure it out, basically.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, can you get an average of more than 10,000 counter power per zone? If not, Rage 3 on this guy is going to be pretty brutal because it'll be at 52. And oftentimes the Rage number is quite a bit higher than 3.
Oh yeah.
That's the level 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, we've fixed a lot of the problems with the old Red Rage deck that was not feeling particularly powerful at levels 2 and 3. Because now we're wanting to get countered to take advantage of some new movement options, and getting up to 3 is desirable. So suddenly this low number is really good. We can still play the old school Red Rage game plan if we want to. We have the level 2 for it. We have the level 3 for it. We can get large amounts of rage. We can threaten area 7. But the new strategy, I think, is far more interesting. But it's a very solid backup plan, being just play the best deck in the format from the previous set, because that was already a good thing to be doing,
And
right?
if it's
So if plan A fails, play the previous top deck,
yep.
basically. And to that effect, we can move on to the monster deck. Or sorry, to that effect, we can move on to the monsters in the main deck, of which the first is just simply 4 copies of their old school Red Rage monster. Because sometimes, if you do have to pivot into that plan, perhaps in a certain matchup, for example, in which, like, for example, I would often see if I'm playing against something like Biolante, they're not going to give me the opportunity to execute some of my uh, movement options. They're not going to make it very easy for me to counter them or really advance any sort of game plan there. Maybe against that deck, I just want to just totally switch over to playing Red Rage and just beat them that way. But also, it's just a pivot option that, in some situations, will be more desirable. Not super often, but it contributes to the idea of this deck is the best parts of the Red Rage deck and a new combo. Then after that, still playable at level 1, we have this Burst 1 Godzilla 1954. When it invades, it just sends the top card of the deck to the discard, and if it's a monster, you get to blow up a rank 5 or lower battle. This can kill important things, like, for example, it can kill the Shin Godzilla frozen form, it can kill evolution larvae, it can kill really anything problematic that is getting played within the first few turns of the game, typically. And because it's a burst 1, we can always play it, so it gives us a lot of options. Oh, lately it also screws with Space Godzilla's ability to make 3 crystals, because you invade 2 or 1, and you keep them off of being able to have 3 crystals on their turn, which means their cards don't work. Like,
Absolutely. I
this,
agree.
yeah, I mean, taking them off of 3 is the most important one, because it means that God of Destruction counterattack
Yeah.
doesn't work. But
5.
ideally, you can just delete them entirely, and with this, deleting the whole board of crystals because they only made 2 on the first turn. Uh, so anyway, it just lines up well into other things. And in worst case scenario, it's a monster card. You pitch it, but it has enough utility in the early enough game that we play it. Then we have my favorite, the new piece, the 4 copies of Godzilla 2016 second form. Now, this is the card that a lot of other things in the deck are built around. This card is the reason why we bother to play Shin Godzilla's first form at all, basically, other than unbreaking strategies. Because if this card has a giant unknown creature underneath it, you can discard a strategy card from your hand to advance it by 1 zone, and this does not count as your invasion for turn. You can combine this with effects that exist in the game that are, shall we say, able to cheat your way forward on movement, like to Area 6, and then immediately somehow you are in Area 7 and you have not used an invasion yet. And then from there, there's a lot of ways that you can win the game by invading 2 from Area 7. In the ideal scenario, before your opponent even had the opportunity to play any battle card that can survive Ginza Annihilated or survive your level 3 monster or anything like that. And it just very much has the capacity to take people unaware as soon as you're at level 2. Also, it has burst 3, so you can also play it at level 3. So sometimes you'll have situations where you'll get countered, go to this guy, use an effect that moves him to area 6, increases rage, blow up the thing in 7, play this, discard a strategy card, go to 7, invade 2 for game with the zone that you just cleared. There's a lot of really efficient lines in the deck where basically as soon as I'm at level 2 or 3, you're in danger. You can die out of the blue at any time. And it's
So I
quite
found
difficult to
out.
respond.
It's Steven, right?
In
That
round
was a
one.
short game.
Yes, it was. Of about 13 seconds.
We play 3 copies of each of these cards. I think that there's an argument for running a little more, or there's an argument for running a little less. Basically, these are the Godzilla 2023s that get searched off of the level 2. Because of the fact that they get searched, we can kind of always get to them, but I like having a bit of insurance against the problem of running out of search targets in the deck, and on top of that, again, they're just monster cards at the worst case of scenarios. Most of the time, I find myself, if I'm going to use one, I'll use this one since its enter effect is to blow up a rank 4 or lower battle. So maybe there's something that I don't want to stick around on the board. I can use the invasion ability with a rank 2. I can go grab this, and even though I've already invaded for turn, I can use his enter effect to blow that up. Yeah, there's reasonable pivots. I think in the future, maybe we will see these cards going down even further. Since they're searchable, we don't have to worry as much about the consistency in being able to find them, since we'll probably find either better monster cards that we can play at these slots or something else entirely. But regardless, here they are for now. We play 4 copies of this Godzilla 2023 that literally the reason it's here is to be very large. If it has 2 or more rage, it gets 5,000 threat. So you play it when you're at rank 3. Sometimes you get into situations where you can't actually kill for whatever reason. Like you can get up to 7, but you can't kill. So maybe you want to be able to tag out and become as uncounterable as possible. Or maybe you're in the situation where you pivoted to playing the old school Red Rage plan. You can play this guy on top of your monster. That generates a rage. You only need one other monster. Now he's got a base of 28k. So you've got 38k out of the blue off of 1 card, or off of 2 cards, rather. It's just a bit of a higher number than basically anything else can manage. And so sometimes it works to play defensively. I think that this has more practical utility than more copies of these would, just because of sometimes you just need the bigger number. And we play 4 copies. I'm going to consolidate these because they're basically the same. Of Godzilla 2016 fourth form. This is another Shin card we do actually play. It has burst 3, but it's also a 4-drop, or a rank 4. When it enters, you can discard a strategy card from your hand, which you usually have. And if you do, you reveal your top 5 cards and add a monster card from a rumbling to your hand and send the rest to discard. 9 times out of 10, you're digging for this, right? So like you burst this at rank 3. Why do you do that? You only do that if you don't have this card yet and you need it. So maybe in some occasional situations you might grab one of the other monster cards, but most of the time it's I'm at rank 3. I don't have this dude. Since he has burst 3, my job now becomes I need to find that dude and use as much rage as possible to avoid getting countered for 1 turn, so then I can play this and then win the game. So
Okay.
that's more or less what it does. Also, sometimes if you get Biolante reshuffled or something like that, it can get a bunch more monster cards in your deck in one shot, or sorry, in your graveyard in one shot out of your deck, and then that turns Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla back on. So that helps too. And finally, another Hail Mary pass card, the rank 4. Rank 4s have to be really impactful. Like this guy is already so good that anything that you're playing over this needs to be like amazing,
Yeah,
basically.
it needs to be as good or better in the situation, and it rarely is.
Exactly. So like this finds a combo piece. This can unbrick a bad hand sequence of draws, right? This guy, you play him, you mill 5. It gets 5 rage for each one, and then if you reveal a 2-step, which you usually will, it advances to zone 6. It's another way to get to zone 6 whenever we want to. It's another way to potentially facilitate some recovery plays, some counters out of pretty dire situations in combination with cards like, well, some of our battle cards. But actually, on that note, let's go ahead and get into the battle cards. There's
Hey,
30
actually,
monsters.
before we move on, I do have a question for you. Why none of the rank 3 Shin Godzillas?
What do they do?
Not much.
That's the question, right?
Yeah, they
Everything in the deck that is at that 2 and 3 slot
yeah,
needs to have an incredible reason behind its existence because I'm almost always going to prefer to play this, right? This is the card that wins the game. So if I am at level 2 or level 3, I'm either playing the second form or I'm bursting it at level 3. I'm not wanting to play anything else. This is a level 1 monster. This is a burst 1 monster, and we really only intend to cast it when we're bursting anyway, right? Because
yeah,
it's a burst, it's better because it means that it's not going to like we can use it on the first turn if we need to, and then go back to being counterable again once the opponent actually has a chance of playing battle cards.
I heard.
You get it, you get it and you forget it. And Also, it mills cards off the top of the deck, which advances things like Mechagodzilla, Graveyard Count, and so on. So, like these two, they justify their space. They stay out of the way of the rank 2. Anything in this rank 2 slot is there because it's searchable, pretty much.
Yeah,
So, we have these guys and we don't really intend on playing it. It's mostly just there to be searchable, rage at a moment's notice that's pretty consistent, and it can be a removal spell. This one does something fairly similar, if I'm not mistaken, but is less dependent on like the other Shin Godzilla, I guess, engine stuff. And then this one being on enter specifically is desirable in the situations where it comes up. So it's just there's not really space in the deck for anything else to be happening at
yeah,
rank
to
2 and rank
justify it.
3,
Yeah,
because then we
one
go
of the,
right back up to these 4s, right?
yeah, I get what you're
We're
saying.
ending the game here. This is a temporary measure that we can play before we end the game. If we're digging for this card, this digs for this card, right? If this failed and we're at rank 4, this is a Hail Mary pass to not die. So everything happens around this as the centerpiece of the deck.
Gotcha.
Does that answer the question?
Absolutely, yeah, very thoroughly. Thank you, thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah. We'll pack these up and take a look at the battles now. Now we have the battle cards. There's not as many of these. It's going to be obvious very quickly.
How many monsters do you know how many monsters are in it?
30.
30.
30.
Nice.
And this card's a big factor as to why. Cabinet Helicopter. You play it, it's a 6-drop. It sends the top card of your deck to your graveyard, and again, we like doing that here for a variety of reasons. And if it's a monster card, it just advances you right to zone 6. And it doesn't care where you are on the board. So, for example, if your opponent goes, I don't know, invade 2 and invade 2, right? It's the second turn of the game. You could be just in area 2. You play this guy, he mills a monster. Oh, look, I'm at area 6. I didn't give you any opportunity at all to play anything. I'm just have immediately recovered the same amount of tempo that you had, and I haven't even used an invasion yet, right? It
Absolutely.
makes it possible to where you can totally control your motion at a basically unprecedented level from any zone on the field. And all it demands is having enough monster cards in the deck that the trigger hits. So I like 30 out of 50 cards. You could go higher, you could go lower. I don't always need it to hit. You can draw enough cards in this deck that you can sometimes find two of these, but it hits more often than it misses, basically. And if you're smart with how you play it, you can often do some really cool things. I think that some people have considered playing this card in combination with cards that set up the top card of your deck. I'm not a huge fan of that at this time because I would rather just play fewer whiffs, right? But all the same, it works pretty well and it provides some impressive motion control. The next battle card is the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Play two of this. It's a 7-drop. It can't be played if you have uh, any less than 8 monster cards in your graveyard. Generally speaking, you can cast this on turn 2 because you're doing enough raging that you end up with enough monster cards in the graveyard that this is available to you. So if your opponent is super aggressive, you can rage out a couple of times, find the Mecha Godzilla, play it, reset their rage, send them back to the Stone Age. And that provides pretty much a pressure valve against things like other Red Rage decks or Blue Rage or Space Godzilla can be quite aggressive. Things of that nature. This is your pressure valve that says, nope, you're going back. It buys you 1, maybe 2 turns, but usually that's all you need to win because at this point you're also usually in Area 7 and you're threatening to win. So either you win or your opponent counters you. So you don't, because they have to, because you're about to win. You go back to Area 4 and then you win anyway via invasion, basically is the intention there. So you don't need it to be a lasting counter. You're not winning for counter in this game. You just need it to stop like once. And then finally, we have the Godzilla King of the Monsters. Funnily enough, this is mainly in here because before the tournament started, I got rinsed by a Biolante deck because I realized that I didn't have a way to counter their rank 1. And as soon as they found a large body to put in Area 8, I didn't really have a convincing way of dealing with it without simultaneous. Like it was just nutty as far as a bad time that was. That matchup resulted in me putting these cards in the deck and a Heat Ray in the deck. Although Ghidorah was a contributing factor for that one as well. But suffice to say, this is the top end of the classic Red Rage package. It has Awakening 8 where you can play it as though it were a 4-drop as long as you're in Area 8. This deck zooms around. It's very easy to get to Area 8. This is your backup plan if you need to hit a counter or if you're just pivoted into playing the traditional Red Rage strategy outright. It gains 3,000 counter power for each of your monster cards' rages, so normally this is one card that can be a ridiculous amount of counter power. And it's also a battle card that, I control when this goes online, not necessarily my opponent. I can always go to 8 to make this available to me, and sometimes that's the correct thing to do in situations where you need to get, particularly like against a slow opponent, maybe you need to get a counter to try to draw into your combo or something like that. And that's the battle card package. That's it. We really only need these.
Nice. Short and sweet.
Finally, we have the strategy card package. We play a Heat Ray. This is here because mostly because King Ghidorah exists and they have a battle card that can stop you from being able to invade. This deals with that problem.
Yes, it does.
You can even be in Area 4 and then kill. Normally, they put their Ghidorah to where it's blocking you from invading in like out of 7. So you can be in Area 4. You can Heat Ray across the column. You can make your plays in whatever sequence you want from there. It's pretty handy. Also, obviously, if you're in Area 8, this clears Area 8. And occasionally, with the amount that we can just teleport around the field, you can use it to point at something useful too. It varies. We play one of that. We play 2 Godzilla landings. These advance your opponent by 1 zone. It's nice. It can be against a slow opponent. You can get them to 6, which enables you to play a Cabinet Helicopter. You can get them to 7, so you can gam them. If you already have gam, you can use this to knock them into 8 and then counter, get for more tempo loss, sending them back to 3. I would say broadly speaking, it has a lot of utility playing aggressively like that, right? But also, oftentimes the movement on the field works out that you're in 7 and your opponent's also in 7, and when that happens, you can use Godzilla Landing to force them to 8 and then invade 2. It comes up on both sides of the equation long enough that we play 2 copies of it.
The Discord has shown me the ways of Godzilla's landing.
Is this what I killed you with, or was it the
It was me.
Genza?
It was me.
No, I
Yeah.
you beat
Okay.
me. I was like amazed by it, so I put 2 copies in my Red Rage deck.
It's just so versatile, being able to tell the opponent, no, you go here instead.
You do what I want.
Yeah.
This
Genza
video,
annihilated.
this video
Oh,
has
what's up?
devolved into all the different texts of how Ian has shit on Steven in the tournaments. uh, anyway, go ahead.
Genza annihilated. It's a 4-drop. We are cautious about playing 4. Like 4 is a lot, right? We can't play this on the first turn. Things we can't play on the first turn, they should be scrutinized because we're trying to cycle through our whole hand every turn. But the effect is very good. Whenever your card's rage is increased, it destroys one of your opponent's rank 6 or lower battle cards. If you play it out correctly, your opponent never gets the opportunity to play something above 6, right? Like if they, heaven forbid they counter you immediately, you can theoretically just clear whatever they could have possibly played in area 8 and then go into the win. So the downside, the restriction text of Genza annihilated in this deck, because it largely doesn't invade, is pretty much bypassed most of the time. And for the rest of the time, I mean, that's why we have the Heat Ray, that's why we have the Godzilla landing, that's why we have something we'll show later, a final showdown. But Genza does the job most of the time. Also, it's fairly versatile. It can deal with annoying things like Shin Godzilla Frozen Form or Evolution Larvae and other sorts of things. It's just it kills enough stuff. It does enough things that we play 2 copies of it. We play the full 4 Godzilla Attacks. This is another card that teleports us throughout the field. Like Cabinet Helicopter, it just advances us directly to Area 6. So this plus Shin Godzilla Frozen Form is a combo. And then it is a 2-step, so it's using 4 of our 2-step slots. It's fine. We didn't really need to use something else for those slots. We do enjoy the ability to sometimes, occasionally, we need to just get like a certain amount of cards out of hand. So having 4, we're okay with that. Using 1 to invade, we're also okay with maybe discarding it to the Shin Godzilla's first form, the unknown creature ability. Like, we don't have a shortage of ways to get this out of our hands, so we feel pretty comfortable about having a bunch of them. It's also a card that you might just genuinely want to use twice. Not very frequently, but usually you cast it and you're winning the game. But we do want to see it, and we want to see it fairly consistently, and we don't mind if we draw an extra one because we have a variety of ways to get it out of our hand productively, so we play the 4. We also play 2 Heat Ray charges. This is just Pot of Greed. Draw 2 cards. It's great. Usually draws 2 monster cards, makes it harder to get countered on a turn when we don't want to get countered. Other times it digs for combo pieces. 6 is not an unreasonable position to be in. It's great. Obviously, Pot of Greed is good. And then finally, Final Showdown. When you're in Area 8, Final Showdown and Heat Ray do the same thing. They deal with different problems. I think this mostly with stuff that's in front of you, this with like a whole giant board of problems or things that are maybe just going to continuously preclude you from being able to move and advance your game plan. You can use the Final Showdown even in some pretty cheeky ways. Like this deck has the ability to use Final Showdown and then invade afterward, which is very funny because it doesn't feel like the card was intended to be used before an invasion, but you can get to, like, if you're in 7, you can use second form to advance yourself to 8 and then Final Showdown and then invade for game, which is pretty brutal to have happen. And that is the deck, my friends. It is 30 monsters, 8 battles, and 12 strategies.
Nice.
And
If I were to break it down into its core components, though, it would be, you want to find some combinations of the following cards. Like in terms of like as you're cycling through your deck, as you're raging out, right? What are you looking for? And usually most of the time, by default, that looks something like this. You need something that moves you up to 6, right? So your 4 of Cabinet Helicopter, your 4 of Godzilla Attacks. You need a copy of Godzilla 2016 second form. You want any other strategy, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be Final Showdown, it could be Heat Ray. And then from there, you just want to make sure that you still have an Invade 2, and in some cases, maybe you use a removal spell, right? Maybe you use a Godzilla Landing to clear the zone, maybe you use a Ginza Annihilated to clear a zone. But the basic idea is, okay, cool, I'm going to pretend that I'm at, let's do the demonstration here, right? So we'll show off the combo, basically. All right, let's say we're chilling. It doesn't super matter where. Perhaps in area 4. This is normally around the place that I find myself resolving this combo. Either because of the fact that the opponent has just countered me, back from 7, or because of the fact that I just slow walked my way up to area 4. Regardless, this is normally where this happens. So I'll play perhaps a Cabinet Helicopter. I'll mill a monster off the top of my deck. Generally speaking, it will be a monster. Cabinet Helicopter will advance me to area 6. I'll play Frozen Form, or, well, actually, hang on, Sequencing, specifically. At this point, most likely, in the scenario where I slow walked, you haven't had an opportunity to play anything that's greater than rank 6, so I'll play a Genza here. Then, because I want to conserve the card in hand, I'll play the Godzilla second form. So that'll generate a rage, and then that'll activate the Genza and blow up whatever you had in area 8, as well as I'll discard whatever strategy card I don't need to go ahead and get myself up to area 7. Finally, I play Godzilla Attacks as my second strategy for turn, and then that's game. That's the basic line.
Pretty
And
good.
these
Wow,
cards
that
are
is
interchangeable with each other, and then this card can also be this card, depending on the situation. So you end up with a ridiculous amount of pieces of combo pieces that can be assembled, and because you draw so many cards at the start of the game, just rage out, rage out, rage out, rage out, not moving very much, you can assemble it with a frightening amount of consistency.
That's nice. It works smoothly. You could do that from like 2 technically. If you had the cards
Yep.
early, I'm pretty sure you could do it from just about anywhere.
Yep. And Godzilla Attacks only requires you to be at 4 or above. So most of the time, you're playing the game, you're kind of in the blender here, right? 4, 5, 6, 7. Not usually going to 8 if you can avoid it. So once you get into the blender, you can pretty well control getting countered. Because like if I put myself in 7, I'm saying, hey, kill me this turn or you're going to lose, right? Or counter me this turn or you're going to lose. You're sort of forced to knock me back to 4, right? You don't usually let me go to 8. And if you do let me go to 8, I'm going to kill you anyway, so who cares? There's not much of a reason to go to 8 voluntarily. And then, if I want to, I can even just keep, at this point, the 4,000 threat. I can just not rage, and if you've played any cards at all, I get countered. Or a fun mini game happens where you have to try to deal with me while not playing any battle cards to the field because you're going to counter me. And it's like if my opponent's response is, I'm not going to play cards, I'm not going to play the game, okay, I'm fine with that too. Like, I can win from that position too for different reasons. You know what I mean?
Yep.
oh man, that is amazing. Hell yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Ian, for showing us this.
Yeah, you thank you so
Want to
much.
get a game?
Any other closing thoughts or changes you would make to this?
I'm not certain about a few of the individual card choices. As I mentioned, I'm not certain that the deck needs to be running, specifically 3 copies of each of the Godzilla 2023 burst search targets. Maybe that could go down. I don't think I dare take it down to, one of each, but maybe two of each, or maybe three of the Inter one and then one copy of the other one, since its effect doesn't come up as often. And in their place, maybe I could have some other type of utility monster card, or I dare not put more strategy cards in. I don't think I have a right about the amount that I want at the moment in order to have the desired hand composition on the important turn. But there's small tweaks that can be made still.
That's pretty good. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on here and giving us a little information, and good luck in the future tournaments, and we'll see you next time.